The Bill Simmons Podcast, presented by FanDuel. I made my list. It's between Orlando and Houston for biggest winner of the night. KOC, who do you have, Orlando or Houston?
Houston. I mean, you get Jalen Green at 2. We talked a ton about him, goes without saying, but getting Alperen Şengün in the middle of the first round, great low post player, tons of potential to extend his range to 3. I think in that system, like with Jalen Green, it's going to be fantastic. And then not only that, getting Garuba in the 20s, a guy that many people projected and expected to go into the late lottery. Like, look at their front court rotation now. You have Şengün, who's an interior post player. You have Christian Wood, who can space the floor to 3 and be a lob threat. And then you have Garuba, who's your defensive-oriented guy, switchable, can defend multiple positions. And then on offense as well, he can pass a little bit. He's a good interior passer, short roll playmaking. I think the cohesion and the fit amongst all those guys, there's no overlapping skills. They just kind of complement and enhance each other. So I love what Houston did. And then Josh Christopher, their last first-round pick of the 4. And, solid
that should have
guy.
been Cam Thomas.
Yeah, I would have liked to see them go in a different direction there, but still doesn't change the fact they're a winner and, taking a shot on a guy who can be a good scorer for you. I like the idea of it. So Houston is my big winner of the night.
So I was looking at Hollinger's kind of, I was reading your draft grades, KOC, and then Hollinger's draft grades. And it was, after each one, it was like who they should have picked. And starting like pick 7, it was Şengün for each Şengün, pick 8, Şengün. And it was just like, that was the guy. And then he finally ends up getting 16. Russillo, couldn't help but notice that was the slot that the Celtics traded away to get rid of Kemba Walker, which is just the Kyrie nightmare that just keeps on paying for itself. Kemba's the consolation prize after Kyrie kicks him in the nuts. They have to trade him 2 years later. They have to add the 16th pick to it. And then Şengün, who really seemed like the best player left. And then there was a drop off really after him. Houston trades up. They trade 2 picks. OKC ends up getting 2 picks for a pick that they basically got just to do this Kemba Horford swap. So I was bummed out by that. But Russillo, does that roster that Houston have now, does it break your brain? Christian Wood, Şengün, our guy Garuba, Jalen Green, John Wall, Christian Wood, like what's going on? How do you see that all colliding? Because there's all of a sudden like a decent amount of talent there.
I don't know if I'd go as far as that. I mean, unless Jalen Green turns into somebody, and usually, although we've had some incredible development stories the last couple of years between Giannis, Kawhi, Siakam to a lesser extent. But I mean, we've seen some things with later picks and these guys doing stuff that we're just not used to. I mean, normally the guys that run this league are guys that we expect to run the league coming out of the draft. But if Jalen's one of those guys, we'll probably know pretty soon, I would think. Yeah. And I think everybody else that's on this roster that wasn't drafted tonight is probably not part of their future for the next 2 years. I mean, who is? I mean, Kevin Porter Jr., I know he can score buckets, but that team was a mess. I mean, that team was trying to lose every game. To their credit, they were. So I don't look at any of those guys. And honestly, like the Christian Wood stuff, I know he's really, really talented. I don't know if he's the personality that's a long-term fit with teams. I don't know that he's I think he's kind of about himself and he's incredibly talented. Boy. So what? I know KOC loves him.
No. This is a dream shake. The Dream Shake blog is aggregating this. I can just feel it.
Well, here's the thing.
Russillo crushes Christian Wood. All right,
with Christian Wood, I mean, you get Şengün, you get Garuba. Doesn't he become expendable now? Because he is despite the flaws you're detailing there, Ryan, now he could become a guy that you flip to a contender for more picks or a wing or a guard, whatever it might be. But I think Wood, if you want to keep him, great. If you want to trade him, he's way more expendable now than he was in the morning.
KOC, do we like Garuba and Şengün together? Şengün? I'll never get this right.
Yeah.
Do we like those two as a combo, like them playing on the court at the same time?
I mean, one of them will have to absolutely develop a reliable three-pointer. Şengün, it's theoretical. Like you're talking about, he's shown step-back threes, mid-range pull-ups, good free throw shooter, good touch inside. I have a high level of confidence he will be able to become a three-point shooter. With Garuba, it's a little bit more iffy. He doesn't have great touch. He's a below-average three-point shooter. Has gotten a little bit better.
He's basically Jan Mahimny.
Yeah, he's the interior guy. You hope Şengün is the versatile guy.
I remember the Şengün Turkish League stats. I remember when Russillo lit up the Turkish League back in 2003. your career year there. And people were like, well, it's the Turkish league, but you were playing against good guys that year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, stay away from the Turkish hash.
That's a good idea. Well, Houston,
it's
James
a great
Harden
league, though. No, it's
it is.
It's
a really good league. It's third best one.
When you're that young, winning MVP, I like him. There's nothing that you watch there because the guy's a bit of a badass about it. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't afraid of anybody. I mean, to accomplish what he accomplished is incredible. I like him here so much more as like, hey, let's see what happens than say some of the times where I was hearing him at the highest end at like 8, 9, or 10. Because, like I always say with these bigs, if I'm already drafting a big who I can't keep on the floor to close a game, and that's kind of what he looks like defensively, we could probably promise this too. If Ainge's still in charge of the Celtics, you wouldn't have to worry about missing out on him because he just doesn't like the foreign guys.
True. Good point.
And he's also the single biggest complainer of any of my draft prospects. So I have him ranked number 1.
He's just on your board in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. Biggest complainer I've ever seen.
We don't have to go to a break, but I would love to go to a break. Coming up, I'll tell you why the Rockets have a Rookie of the Year candidate, and it's not Jalen Green. Orlando is our other big winner. I just can't believe how it worked out for Orlando. I don't think their fans can believe it, where the situation where they always get the raw guy, the potential guy, the guy who, he's incredible, except for the fact that he's missing his left hand, or he can't shoot, or there's always some sort of flaw, and they just get Suggs, who I think we all really like. I don't know if he'll be a 5-time All-NBA guy, but I think he could be an All-Star. And then Wagner, who I just think is a really solid player, who, worst case scenario, can play for a good team. And he could be, I think, somewhere between the 4th through 7th ranking guy on a team that succeeds. You could see him 8 years from now, like on the Jazz or a team like that, just being really effective. But this is the first time I felt good about an Orlando draft. KOC, you can't say the same because you were covered in Mo Bamba Kool-Aid a couple years ago. But
very true. Yeah.
But what an unbelievable turn of events for Orlando, right? That's my second winner tonight.
Yeah, Orlando's definitely one of my couple of winners tonight. Jalen Suggs, we talked about him a ton. Like Kevin Clark and all the Magic fans out there have to be ecstatic about him. But Wagner at 8 as well, because there was a lot of talk heading into draft night that maybe Orlando moves this pick. There's a lot of uncertainty about what they would do there because there was some thought that at 7, Golden State could go with Wagner. Getting him at 8, getting 2 guys who can help you right away. We know the Magic want to try to compete and be competitive out there. So adding those guys to this group, hopefully Jonathan Isaac can get back, stay healthy, and continue ascending upward like he did prior to the injury every season of his career. Because if you add him to this mix with Wagner and Suggs, I mean, the Magic could have something brewing there. Finally.
And the 3 of us all like Isaac, correct?
I like his talent. I don't know if he's ever going to put it together. The
ACL injury wasn't helping.
Yeah, love his defense. Offense, still have some questions.
Yeah, I just love, out of Florida State, you're going, wait a minute, what can this guy do with the ball and like the handling and some of that stuff? I mean, it's kind of weird. It's not the same as Scotty Barnes, but there's some similarities of like, I can't believe this guy is this big and can operate the way that he does. But I want to go over it real quick because Orlando, we mentioned in one of the other pods, the unlucky slotting and how it turned for him tonight. But if you go back to the Embiid draft, it's Wiggins, Parker. I know he didn't work out Embiid. And then the 4th pick's Orlando. And it's like, it's Aaron Gordon. Like bit of a drop off there from Embiid to Aaron Gordon. The next year, it's Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor. Porzingis goes 4th, and they end up with Mario Hezonja. Orlando after that ends up with that's when they moved. Actually, that was the Sabonis deal. So then one other one. Yeah, Orlando, like, De'Aaron Fox goes right in front of him. Granted, Josh Jackson flamed out, but it just every time they were drafting in the lottery, DeAndre Ayton, Bagley, Doncic, Jaren Jackson, Trae Young, Mo Bamba.
Right.
This is half the last decade, basically. They always seem to be the pick behind the guy you would want, maybe from the entire class.
Well, great job by them. On top of it, the Vooch trade looks awesome now. Because, it allowed them to bottom out a little bit more. They end up with the 5th pick. They also get the 8th pick from Chicago. They still have another pick coming. And Vooch, what was Vooch going to do? They were going to go 43 and 39 every year. So great job by them. I had Brooklyn as a winner tonight. Your goal basically was what we were saying for Golden State. Come out with 2 guys who can play next year in a playoff series. I feel like they did. I think we all like Sharp. KOC, you talked me into him, or somebody did on that Sunday pod where I was saying how it made me nervous that he got in such great shape for the workouts. But on the flip side, it's like, hey, that's a good sign at least that he got in shape during a pandemic season. So they might have gotten two guys that can actually play in a playoff series, which is the goal.
There was some thought that he might go in the late teens when people were talking about San Antonio, Charlotte, some of those teams moving down to like the 20th pick with Atlanta. The thought was that Sharp could go there. So for Brooklyn, they didn't even have to trade up to get him. Getting him at 29, major potential steal for the Nets.
Well, that was one of my losers, is just big guys. We talked about this on Sunday too. Like, why do I have to take Kai Jones at 11 if I'm Charlotte, when no big guys should ever go in the lottery? Everybody just wants scorers and 3-and-D guys and, these 6'10" defensive guys who can move around. Big guys you can find anywhere. You can get Montrezl Harrell for a year from some team as a throw-in on a trade for $9 million. And we saw it tonight. Şengün falls all the way to 16. And then that was kind of when the big guys started going, and that you saw Isaiah Jackson get taken, all that stuff. But it just seems like to be a big guy, the days of like Jackson Hayes going 8th in an NBA draft, I just think are over. Unless you have a chance to be a potential all-NBA center, you're not going in the top 10 in the NBA draft. I think it's too easy to find big guys, and there's not enough minutes for him, honestly. So
I liked Charlotte tonight, obviously because of the book night part of it, and
me too.
Him falling to him. I do wonder, if there's the off the court incident with book night, if people were like, hey, if that had anything to do with it. I mean, look, he was just a person of interest in a campus car accident. I guess he left the scene, and maybe it's a big misunderstanding. Who knows? I don't know. I can just tell you what I read like everybody else. But Kai was in play where they got book night. I mean, that's one of the high side of Kai Jones that I'd heard. And so, look, Kai Jones, the first time you watch him, I joke that when he's drafted, you'd watch his clips and go, what the hell? How come this guy didn't go 5? I mean,
is that Bill Russell?
Yeah, and he can shoot. So he's 6'11", but this is a thing where the shooting numbers look pretty good. I watched the Clutch Pro Day thing. He's got this weird, almost disconnected body from the top, from the way he shoots. It's like a weird hitch. And the scary thing for him is that Texas, he actually started more games last year than this year. And if you look at the way they used him minutes-wise, they started to play him less as the team had a better run.
Bad stats, too.
Those are like things you go, wait, this guy's supposed to go lottery, and they played him less as the season went along. So
I don't like when big guys don't put up numbers in college. Like, at least get to 8 rebounds a game. Listen, if they took him at 11, I wouldn't have liked it. They took him at 19. I kind of liked it. And I just, in general, I like what Charlotte did. They end up with they trade with the Knicks. They grabbed 19. I guess they gave up some sort of future pick, but they're banking that maybe they won't ever be a lottery team again.
Zach Lowe said it was big time protected. So
big time protected. I think for the Knicks are probably thinking, we need assets. We'll have a trade to make at some point. It's easier to trade a future pick that we haven't made yet versus this young guy who's toiling away on our bench. Other winners. Jalen Rose, 3 Jalens in the top 20 tonight. The Jalen name success story just keeps going and going. He had 2 in the top 5 and 3 in the top 20. KOC, I wrote you down as a winner tonight.
Big time.
You hit this zone during Green Room. First of all, you started the Green Room. You were doing draft grades. You were on this podcast. You were in Slack, and you were also on Twitter alerting us on picks. I'm actually 50% convinced you've cloned yourself somehow. That there's a second KOC somewhere in Brockton who's just in this basement apartment with good Wi-Fi, and you've just managed to do it.
Yeah,
Did it come clean?
I've had a twin this whole time, Bill. Yeah,
you have.
True. I'm not an only child. I have a brother,
Devin O'Connor.
Yeah,
we should tell Henry you're not an only child.
His nickname is KFC.
Another winner, Sam Presti. He got off. He just Sam.
I'm
Presti.
not sure. Honestly, I'm not even sure anymore.
No,
I'm not.
I also have him in losers. So just so you know, I'm going to say for the winners part, the Sam Presti mystique. If Sam Presti was a verb, you would have said he Sam Presti'd the hell out of the draft tonight. Took a guy at 6 who might, for all we know, might be a bust. We have no idea. He looks great on paper. He's classic. They could talk about this weird international team they're building of these interchangeable guys. He trades the 16 for 2 firsts, the pick he got from Kemba Horford. So he's got more picks. Everybody can make those jokes about that. Just for just staying in the mix as this quote unquote inventive out of the box guy. I thought he did a good job. We're also going to get to him in the losers later because I didn't actually like what he did. Another winner, the Wiz. The Wiz had 15 and 22. They took Kispert 15, who's at least going to play. He's a rotation guy. And then they got Isaiah Jackson in 22, who I just like as an energy guy. I just feel like once you get past pick 20.
They flipped him. They flipped Jackson to 31.
Oh, no, I feel like Perk. Who'd they flip him for?
For Aaron Holiday in the 31st pick.
Oh, I'm going to make them a double winner. I love Aaron Holiday.
Yeah, good player.
So who'd they get for 31?
Isaiah Todd, I believe, was the pick at 31.
Oh, I stand by them being a winner. As you guys both know, I've loved Aaron Holiday for a couple years and have been waiting for him to do stuff. Well, anyway, they got rid of Westbrook. They had to trade a first with Wall's contract to get him. Got the first back. Got some rotation guys, and at least they can make an honest effort with Bradley Beal. I think the goal for them, Russillo, at least make the Bradley Beal thing not self-combust before like February. At least keep the car on the highway for another couple months.
Can we just check into the reality hotel here for a second and realize that there's no way that Beal was like 50-50 on his future with the Wizards, then saw tonight and went 70-30, I'm in. Beal's decision about the Wizards is about Beal. That's it. Like if he were going to be a guy that, hey, we don't have enough around me, this is bullshit, he would have already forced his trade out. If he was mad about the Westbrook thing that we heard about,
though. I don't think they have the trade to make.
I just don't think any of this stuff, which I agree with you. I love the Holiday part of it. I don't think you were doubling down on something there. Like I look at that deal and go, wait, Isaiah Jackson, but now you got it Holiday and now you have like a little bit more depth, especially like I wasn't sure about Aaron when he was coming out. And honestly, he's impressed me more and more every time I've watched him. So I actually really like that addition. But I don't think the Beal decision, I think the lesson should be in that, as I've been kind of hearing and saying all along, is that he's way more content with the situation than the outside world seems to think. So I don't know that there's any addition, or he'll look at the depth chart tomorrow going, all right, now I want to do the extension. He may want to do the extension just because he wants to do the extension and get to 5 years a year from now anyway.
I was thinking more addition by subtraction. Him playing a second year with Westbrook on a pretty flawed team that if they started out slow again, and you worry about his trade value, kind of what happened with Harden a little bit with the Nets, where the trade value couldn't quite get where they wanted it to get. Now it's like they'll be fine, right? They'll be somewhere between 6 and 9 in the East, at least for the first part of the season, and they can kind of wait. They can kind of wait.
As much as we all agree on kind of who Westbrook is, he was a big part of that push towards the end of the year. You know, he was, and that's like that next level of a guy.
They're playing a bunch of bad teams, though. I don't know.
Wow, I complimented him, and you still wouldn't let it happen.
No, listen. If we have a Westbrook, a pissy about Westbrook off, I don't know who wins between us.
We joked once about doing a segment on a Sunday pod where we would both select the other team, the other guy's like worst possible starting five if he were the coach, and then we texted back and forth. It's like, well, whoever gets the number one pick. Like,
yeah, it's almost not fair. Westbrook has to be off the table.
It's already over.
It's like the Lou Alcindor Neil Walk coin flip. Westbrook has to be the starter. All right, so KOC, based on what happened tonight, give me a trade date for Bradley Beal. If we were doing a Bradley Beal office pool and you had to pick and there was big money at stake, what date would you pick?
Whatever is like mid-January, a couple weeks before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think I would try to get like February 9th.
Yeah, so something along those lines. Because like Ryan said, there's a chance it just doesn't happen. Like my understanding is Beal is happy living in Washington. His family is happy living there.
Yeah.
He wants to be there. It's just a matter of if the Wizards can be good enough for him to want to be there. And I think I think it really could be addition by subtraction because of the flaws with Russell Westbrook and because of the additions that they made tonight. I like what the Wizards did this entire day. I'm not sure how good they'll be, but I'm not sure how good they were with Russell Westbrook and the rest of that flawed roster.
All right, we got to fly through these winners and losers because nephew Kyle, for some reason, booked a red eye to go back east tonight at midnight. So we have probably a half hour left of this pod, Max. I have a couple losers for you. Knicks fans Poor Spike Lee. How many times can he go to the draft and get excited about a pick and then they trade it, but nobody in the building knows? It just over and over again. It sucks. It's happened to Patriot fans. KOC and I can attest over and over again where it's like, all right, we're up. Oh, we're not up. We just traded back 12 picks. So the Knicks did that twice.
You learn to trust the Patriots, though. The Knicks fans don't have that.
Yeah,
trust.
They don't have the same trust.
Yeah.
The Spurs did have the same trust with their fans, but now I have them in the losers category. I think this is the summer of with Pop. Team USA, yikes, at least so far. And then this Primo pick tonight. Russillo did a double take. I wonder if we have that on video. You thought I was kidding. You did the come on. You did the
look back.
You did like you threw back. You were like looking around for a TV. Like Josh Primo, you could not believe it. 22 would have been too high for him for you.
I just liked other guards. I just did. And a lot of these guys played against each other too.
Yeah.
You know, like you could go through Jaden Springer and Sharif Cooper was a really weird player. And it seems like it's funny how sometimes your instincts and your gut on a player, like, I don't know, man, I don't know. And then you're talking to people and then the draft plays out that night and you're like, oh, maybe my gut reaction about a guy like Sharif Cooper was right because his shot is a mess. Like maybe the worst shot of any perimeter player that you're hoping to depend on. But so, back to the Primo thing, we have games and games. We have all these SEC League games of watching him not even look like he's close to these other players. And the Spurs went ahead and did it. And I do think it's a really interesting because they were the standard. They were the ones that found everybody. They were the ones that did the stuff that nobody else would do, and they were right all the time. And, for them to have a bad roster now after like a 20-year run, I'm not going to get on their case about it. But I just don't think they've been great with the drafting. They don't have a lot of assets that anybody would be excited about. And I think the Pop thing that could get really interesting one day, Becky Hammon still hasn't gotten a job. If Pop steps down, they have to give her the head coaching gig.
Right. And we'll see how that goes.
It'll be really weird if they were like, actually, we're not doing that. So there's a lot of stuff on the horizon.
Actually, we've hired Stan Van Gundy. Sorry, we're going, we're taking a fake here. KOC, is it possible they didn't take Şengün just because every mock draft had them taking Şengün and they were like, no, we'll show you.
Yeah,
you don't know. You don't understand us.
Just spiting me and Hollinger and NBA Draft Twitter. With the Spurs, I wonder, did they have intel that like OKC or somebody like that would have taken Primo had they moved down? Because there was opportunities to move down and possibly still get Primo. But like, I wonder what was the intel? Because with Primo, I got it like 25 to 30 range. I would have been very happy to draft Primo, raw player who can shoot threes. Maybe he turns into something for you. But at number 12, I just come away incredibly shocked that the Spurs weren't able to find a trade down to gain more value within this draft.
We know what the trade down was. We know the Knicks were offering 19 and 21 to everybody to try to get Duarte. So basically they took Primo over having the 19th and 21 picks. If they just had those picks, they could have taken, I don't know, Keon Johnson and Garuba, or they could have taken Cam Thomas and Garuba, that's a team that needs assets.
No, it's a great point by both of you, because even if you love Primo, and we all end up being wrong, because look, we're all of us are wrong all the time. We're trying to project these guys, and it's impossible. You can be really good at it, you can be terrible at it, but you're never going to be fucking perfect with it. All right. How could you not have the intel to know where the Primo market started? I mean, unless, look, it doesn't mean we know everything, but to know that the Knicks were throwing those two picks around and they did it anyway to go in a different direction. I just were you afraid somebody in the teens was going to grab Primo?
OKC.
OKC at 18. It had to be them.
Yeah.
Presti probably told him. Another loser, Steph and Dre and Clay, because they probably were thinking they were adding the final pieces to the puzzle, and instead they have Kuminga, who's about as project-y as it gets. And then Moses Moody, who's 19 years old, who is probably a little closer to playing than Kuminga in a playoff series. But unless those picks are for trade assets, I guess we'll find out. A winner, though, is Golden State fake trades. I'll be on the trade machine later tonight, guys. The Kuminga, Moses Moody. That is like a bat signal for we're getting Bradley Beal or Dame Lillard. I'm sorry.
I
just don't think you take those two guys.
The first 8 picks tonight, you were like, all right, so does that mean they trade Lowry? You're like,
I
all right,
had Fox on 9 teams.
Yeah, they're like, all right, go. So that pick at 6, that's for somebody else. And I'd be like, I don't think.
We'll
you had everybody trade.
Are you coming out of writing retirement with 22 and a half Warriors trades?
Maybe that could get me. It's so enticing.
Stupid question. Does Kuminga's number choice impact your decision on him as a prospect?
What did he pick?
00.
Really? I didn't know that.
I kind of like that. I got to be honest. I like it. Listen, I'll be following Draymond Green's lead with Kuminga. I'll be very carefully reading all the Draymond Green quotes heading into the preseason, during the preseason. The Warriors have probably more leaks all over the place than just about anybody with just like they have good relationships with all these different reporters, and there will be the quotes. They'll be out there. We'll know pretty early on that one. Another winner, Kevin Clark. Just wanted to mention him one more time. An Orlando draft finally went well. Another winner, Shams Charania. Seems like he kind of went right at Woj tonight, toe to toe. It was, I don't know, give me an MMA analogy, Russillo. What was it? Like a huge underdog, just landing punches. He did a guillotine choke at some point.
I'm sorry, but I've trained in the Woj camp, and we don't worry.
You don't know Shams? All right.
We just don't. We don't worry about competition.
KOC was like dead even tonight, right?
It seemed like it when we were recording live. I wasn't sure who got it first, but certainly seemed close tonight between Woj and Shams.
And Shams got the Westbrook trade before Woj too.
Yeah, he did tonight. Yep,
it's pretty good.
A lot of joy. A lot of joy coming out of you two tonight.
I like competition. Competition's good for everybody.